there's an evolutionary theory called punctuated equilibrium. And it's not, at this point, not really the accepted belief, but I think it's a great analogy to look at psychology and human development. The theory of punctuated equilibrium is that there are most of the time we have stasis. Most of the time we don't have visible changes on the outside. So we essentially have equilibrium. Equilibrium means stasis, nothing is changing. At least not apparently. And then suddenly that equilibrium is punctuated. Something happens, a traumatic event, someone dies, you get sick, you lose your job, a hurricane hits. There's a punctuation in that equilibrium, and boom, everything changes, and now we must evolve, we must grow, we must change. And this is the way that most people go through life. They have this stasis, this sense of equilibrium that is then suddenly punctuated by some event that either forces them to get weaker or forces them to get stronger. Some people die, some people continue to slowly decline, or some people say, wait a minute, I've got to change or I'm going to die or decline. But I don't think that's the best way to go through life, because what's really happening, and the reason that punctuated equilibrium is not the accepted belief system in evolutionary theory, is that there are gradual changes taking place every single day that are not seen from the outside. So even though it appears as if nothing has changed on the outside, it appears as if everything is in stasis and equilibrium, there are small changes taking place every day. And as we age, this happens. I'm getting more gray hair, I'm getting more wrinkles, I'm less able to run as fast as I used to. But from the outside, in a short period of time, I can say, well, nothing's changing. It's another day like it was yesterday, like it was last week. We're not seeing those slow changes. So by being someone that takes little action every day, we may not see the result yet. It may take years before we can actually see the result of those steps, just like it can take years to see the result of somebody aging. You know, unless it's a small child or somebody very elderly, you're probably not going to see them aging if they're, you know, a young adult or middle adult. And the same goes with our actions. If we wait for punctuated equilibrium, we're changing anyways. Even we're delusional to think that we're not changing, because people can put on 100 pounds and not even know it, because it happens so slowly over such a small change in weight over such a long period of time that they don't even see it happening. They think they're in stasis. Do not wait for a tragedy to show up. Do not wait for your equilibrium to be punctuated, because you're not in a state of equilibrium anyway. There are subtle, tiny changes taking place. And if you don't make tiny steps in opposition to them, you will gradually decline, and then your supposed delusional equilibrium will be punctuated, because now suddenly you've got diabetes, or you've got heart disease, or you've got cancer, and people say it came out of nowhere. No, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was happening tiny step by tiny step by tiny step over time. You just weren't paying attention because it wasn't obvious. So we need to take those tiny steps every single day to prevent these tiny declines that are happening every day. And in addition to just, you know, opposing aging or opposing the challenges of life, we also need to move up. We need to improve. We need to become more compassionate. We need to become more intelligent. We need to become more knowledgeable. We need to become more communicative. Building that dome of stone or rock or sand to support the eventual arch that we're going to build. But again, we don't see the arch yet. We're like, I haven't even begun to touch a single stone of an arch. Doesn't matter, we'll get there. And it'll be an extraordinary arch. So, yeah, we don't want to wait for tragedy to strike before we take action. We want to take tiny steps that the results are not even noticeable, because there are changes taking place in us every day that are not noticeable, that are leading towards our decline. So equilibrium is a delusion. Stasis is a delusion. The same old is a delusion. Our mind cannot comprehend such small change over such a long period of time. We can't comprehend it, so it doesn't seem like it's happening. The same goes with taking those tiny steps towards positivity. The brain can't comprehend that such a tiny step is going to lead towards growth. It's going to lead towards this big thing. You know, this grand achievement in life. We want that equilibrium to be punctuated as well. We want to win the lottery. I want to be sitting around, relaxing, doing nothing, and then boom, here's $20 million Powerball jackpot. You know, that's the type of change that humans want. They don't want to have to add a single grain of sand every day to that pile. No, just give me the 20 million now. Punctuate my equilibrium. But just taking these tiny steps over and over again? Come on. But your body is taking tiny steps in the other direction, unless you are consciously taking them in the right direction. If we eat more of the wrong foods than we burn, we're going to gradually start accumulating weight. And same with heart disease. We're going to gradually start accumulating plaque in our arteries. And DNA damage, you know, cancer. The more toxins we have in our environment and the less exercise we do and the more we sit, the more of our DNA is going to be damaged and not repaired, which is eventually going to lead to tumor growth. So if we're not countering those small negative changes, you know, our decline is inevitable. Our decline is inevitable anyway, but how healthy do you want to be right up until your decline? Yeah, you want to be powerful and healthy right up to the moment of your death. You know? So that is, in a sense, a punctuated equilibrium. But the equilibrium is not one of stasis. It's an equilibrium of constant change towards growth, and then suddenly it's punctuated by your death. That's what these tiny steps are all about over the course of someone's life. You know, we don't even notice the positive benefit that are giving us, just as we don't notice the negative effect of not taking positive steps.